If you're an adult who wants to get faster at cubing, I'm going to give you 8 pieces of advice from high-level mentalities to specific tactics that would help you get faster at cubing that often don't apply to younger kids. I just got off about 6 coaching calls with cubers over age 30 who are trying to get faster, and I, as an adult, am training to be in the finals of a major championship for everything from 3x3 up to 7x7, so I personally care a lot about this topic. And the first piece of advice that I would give any adult trying to get faster at cubing is that you need to accept the trade-offs of being an adult. A lot of times, as an adult cuber, it's easy to focus on the things that aren't easy for you. My hands don't move as quickly. I don't learn as fast as I did when I was a kid. I don't have as much time as kids to get faster. But there are upsides to being an adult as well. You have the benefit of discipline, which most young cubers don't have. There are lots of young kids who get very quick, like 15 seconds, and don't even learn full PLL. And I, in the last week, have had coaching calls with multiple adult cubers who aren't even sub 40, but do know full PLL. As an adult, you have the discipline to do hard things, which will more efficiently get you faster. Kids don't have that. That's really cool. You have self-awareness. You can look at yourself and how you solve, identify weaknesses, and work on those things. Very often, younger kids haven't developed the ability to self-reflect and think about how they can grow. You have the ability to do active learning really, really well. By that, I mean your learning style is different from a kid. So young kids learn things mostly just by kind of inhaling the information. If you were to give a young kid the process of learning a language, they don't learn from a textbook. You just throw them into an environment and their brains are so able to adapt that they can absorb it automatically. The process of teaching an adult a new language is completely different from teaching a kid a new language. Why is that? Because your brain is different. The way that you absorb information is different, which means that you are going to be a lot slower at just absorbing things via osmosis, but you will be a whole lot faster at learning things in a structured, methodical way that requires discipline. Kids can't do that, but you can. It's a trade-off. It's not something to get upset about. It's something to evaluate objectively and go, okay, that's a trade-off. Also, as an adult, you have money, which kids don't. I only say this, and I'll talk about this more later, but I say it because there are a lot of things that money can help you do faster that kids don't have access to. That's funny. I didn't realize I put it this way. You have money. I'm sponsored by thecubicle.com. If you go buy new cubes at The Cubicle, use code TRUE for 5% off. In all seriousness, The Cubicle is my absolute favorite place to buy cubes. They're a great company. They care about the community a lot. You should definitely go support them. Anywho, second thing as an adult is to get rid of limiting beliefs. What I mean by that is I have talked to a lot of adult cubers who just say things like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get fast, or is it even possible to get fast as an adult? The fact that you're asking questions like that is a little bit sad to me because you've put kind of a ceiling on what you're even willing to say that you're capable of. You don't need to turn nearly as fast as you would think to get sub 10. This is a great video by Felix Zemdegs where he does a 9.8 second average of 5, sub 10. Look at his turning speed. The physical dexterity of your fingers is not the thing that's keeping you from getting faster. As an adult, you're very capable of this turning speed and these kind of times. It's so possible to get fast as an adult. Felix is in his late 20s. He helps the Australian government manage their sovereign wealth fund. He has a very difficult job and probably not a ton of time to devote to cubing. Yet he still manages to be near the top of many world rankings. And he's demonstrating here that physical dexterity isn't the skill cap to getting fast either. Obviously, there are trade-offs like we talked about a second ago. But if you accept those trade-offs and get rid of kind of the soft limiting beliefs you have on yourself, you can go very far as an adult cuber. I want to publicize my journey of going from kind of a mid-level cuber to good enough to get into major finals so that I can help other people break these limiting beliefs. I'm still early in the journey. I'm decidedly mid-level, pushing sub 10 on 3x3, sub 1, 2, 3 on 5, 6, and 7. But as I keep going, I hope that me documenting what I do can help other people realize, oh yeah, I can do this too. So get rid of the limiting beliefs. Your turning speed isn't holding you back. You are able to learn things naturally. Accept the trade-offs of being an adult. You may not be able to learn passively, but you can learn actively. And then another piece of advice is to stop over-learning but underworking at the same time. So here's what I mean by this. I've talked to a number of adult cubers who will tell me something like, I really struggle with the cross. I've watched all your videos on how to do it better. I have a 30-minute guide about how to solve the cross fast on my channel. Link is going to be on my channel. I've watched all these tutorials. I've memorized all these algorithms, but I'm just not getting faster. And then let's say I'm coaching somebody who has trouble with cross. I'll ask them, okay, so how much do you practice your cross every day? Maybe you go to a website or a trainer that will give you easy cross solutions. Maybe you just scramble the cube and only work on the cross. And they'll usually say something like, well, for like 2 or 3 days, I did about 10 minutes of cross practice. And that's it. And in my mind, this is a classic example of an adult who is really good at actively absorbing information, but isn't good at just turning off their brain and getting to work. Kids have the opposite problem. Kids don't want to learn difficult information, they just want to do stuff. It's impossible to get a kid to sit still, but it's very easy to turn a kid loose on a project and let them do what comes naturally. Adults are kind of the opposite. We feel better when we can sit back and we can think, and we can absorb, and we can learn. And we feel a lot less happy when we're just kind of working over and over and over again. It feels less intellectually good. The best way to get better at a lot of things in cubing is to just do the work. The amount of time you spend learning new skills versus the amount of time you should spend practicing them is probably 20% learning new stuff and 80% doing work to implement it, which is flip-flopped from where a lot of adult cubers that I've interacted with tend to sit. So if there's any area of your solving where you are not improving and you want to, like your cross, your finger tricks, your F2L solutions, ask yourself, am I overlearning and underworking? Have I made a specific plan for how to get better at this, and am I actually doing it every day for a consistent period of time? The fourth thing, and this is a very common mistake I see, is that you need good finger tricks as an adult. So I've coached a number of adult cubers, and most of them have kind of engineered their own interesting way of gripping the cube. I see a lot of odd finger tricks, like the top layer like this. A lot of adults have bigger hands than younger kids, so they'll kind of hold the cube in a different way, where they'll have multiple fingers stabilizing the bottom of the cube so that their thumbs can access the top layer. They often, as an adult, you often don't use double flicks. You'll only turn the top layer with single flicks. Also, as an adult, you probably, because you have your own grip that's comfortable, don't use what's known as home grip. Home grip is where you rest your pinkies on this line on the bottom of the cube. And then if you're right-handed, you use your left hand to stabilize the cube. You line up about 2/3 of the way across the puzzle, or if you're right-handed, vice versa. And then your right hand takes ownership here, and your thumbs stay on the front. Most of your turning should be done with these fingers or wrist turns from the left and right. If you're an adult, and you're not defaulting to this home grip, you need to learn this as soon as you can. There are lots of little details from here. You should never, ever, ever be turning the top using your thumbs. Whenever you do an R turn like this, you shouldn't be re-gripping to do that turn. You should be able to just do it from right here, and then either use a pinch move, a push move, a pull index move, or something like that to do your U. There's a whole bunch more optimizations to finger tricks. If you want me to make a full video on it, I'm happy to do that. But adult cubers very often, in my experience, have a lot of homemade finger tricks that are very different from the way kids would homemake their finger tricks because of hand size and the way they've learned, that you need to just undo from your solving. Quick reminder, please double check for me if you're subscribed to the channel. A lot of people watch my videos and really like the stuff and haven't hit the subscribe button, and then they're like, oh my goodness, I'm not subscribed. So if you subscribe, thank you. And as a thank you, here's a picture of Timon popping off. Okay, anyway, fifth thing as an adult cuber that you should keep in mind is to realize that your subconscious brain adapts much slower than your active brain. As an adult, you're very good at learning things in a structured way, like I said before. What that means is you can grasp the theory how to do something very, very quickly. In fact, you can grasp it much faster than a young kid can. You probably are the type of person, if you're watching this video, who has an understanding of the whole process of getting faster at speed cubing. You probably know all the areas in your solve that you're not super good at. You probably know how to get better at your weak points. And maybe you've even practiced them, and you feel like you're just not getting better. There's a difference between learning information and learning information to the degree where it affects the way that you solve. As a kid, this is flipped. Your subconscious brain adapts faster than your active brain. Kids learn to say and do a lot of things by copying that they can't even explain why they do it. They pick up words, mannerisms, and ideas from their parents, their friends, their peer group, the movies they watch, and they can't explain why they start to do it. They just copy what other people do. Their subconscious learns before their active brain learns. As an adult, it's backwards. The tricky thing about cubing is that for every single event, except for your subconscious brain is the dominant force that makes you faster in competition. Because when you're going super, super fast, you don't have time to actively decide everything you're doing. Most of it is a subconscious decision. You recognize things and your brain and hands just kind of do the next thing. So as an adult, if you're learning things with your active brain, it is okay if it takes you weeks of drilling them before it moves into your subconscious brain. You are not broken or flawed or weird. That is how the adult brain works. We have to start with an active framework, and then over lots of time and repetition, it becomes subconscious. Most kids start by copying things subconsciously and then bolting active reasoning on top of it. That's why most kids end up so similar to their parents or to the school or culture they come out of. And then during late teens or young adulthood, they have a whole coming of age thing where they're like, I am different from my parents and blah, 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 because then they start actively thinking about what they want and who they are. And then that trickles down and they go, this is different from what I'm subconsciously doing. Something should be different. And then change happens. So as a cuber, give your subconscious brain lots and lots of time to catch up with your active brain. Examples of this. If you learned the theory of F2L, drill it for like 45 minutes a day, every single day for a month. And don't judge yourself until you've done a month of consistent drilling. It takes your subconscious brain a long time and a lot of effort to catch up. That's totally okay. Thing number 6, you have discipline. Use it. Most kids have blaringly obvious mistakes in their solving. They are turning inaccurately. Their finger tricks are really, really bad. They know they haven't used a whole bunch of algorithms that they should memorize. And they're just lazy. They just won't do the hard work. And of course they won't. They're kids. They haven't learned through experience and exposure to how the world operates that delayed gratification is good. As an adult, you have the self-awareness and discipline to choose hard things that will make your solving better and work on them. Even if you have less time as a kid than a kid does, this is one of those trade-offs of adulthood. You may have less time, but you have more discipline, so use it. 7th thing, you do have money. So this is a personal thing, but I choose to only ever have 2 hobbies at any given time. The reason for that is I would rather have 1 or 2 things I'm into that I am genuinely into. I can invest enough time and enough money to see myself grow in them or experience them deeply, than have like 8 things that I always feel guilty about spending money or time on. My 2 hobbies right now are roller coasters and Rubik's Cubes. I'm a total nerd. So examples of this would be, I don't play video games. I gave my game systems away to friends of mine who will use them more, and their kids are loving it. I don't really go out to eat or go party with friends or anything like that because it's money and time that I would rather not spend on that stuff. But I've taken multiple literal trips across the United States or the world to ride a new roller coaster that's opened up, or a specific roller coaster on a day where they turn the brakes off on it. Like I literally, on a week's notice, drove 12 hours to the middle of nowhere in Indiana to ride this roller coaster called The Voyage, because once a year, for a few hours, they turn off the brakes on the roller coaster and it runs extra fast. It was the craziest thing I've ever done. It was the coolest ride ever. With cubing, I'm willing to spend money on coaches and courses and education because it helps me get faster. A lot of people aren't like this. That's totally fine. This isn't meant to be a sales pitch. I do a boot camp and stuff, but like as an adult, use your money to buy good cubes. Buy cubes that come pre-set up from a store that knows what they're doing. I think the Cubicle does the best job of this, but there are others too. Money is a shortcut that you can trade to get time or knowledge back. So if you pay a coach with some of your money, you're spending that money to get the knowledge out of that coach's head and into yours more quickly than you otherwise would with tutorials, etc. This is something that most kids can't do. Most kids have infinite time but no money. Their options for making the trade of knowledge and skill are more limited than yours. So if you care about the hobby of cubing, as an adult, it really does make sense to use some of that money to make the hobby more enjoyable. If that's not you, that's totally chill. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm not trying to pitch anything. Just this is one of those things that as an adult, you have at your disposal that younger kids often don't. And then the last thing that I would say to adults trying to get faster is to decide what you actually want. Several of the adults who I coached this last week said, my cube is really just my fidget toy, but I would still like to get a little bit faster. They knew what they wanted. They weren't trying to become ultra competitive. They just liked having a cube at their desk and fidgeting with it, and they wanted to fidget a little more efficiently. So I helped them with that. Other adults, like me, are really competitive, and they get deep joy out of getting better at something. I don't like doing things that I can't get better at. I don't like playing pickleball or going bowling because when I do those things, I'm normally playing with people who aren't trying to get better at the activity. Pickleball less so than bowling. There's a lot of competitive people at pickleball. But like when I do an activity, I almost always want to really get better at it. And cubing is one of those things. If that's you, then recognize that and do hard work to get faster at cubing. If you don't want to get faster, that's also great. But if you're stuck in the middle, that's where weird stuff happens. Some people will say things to me like, oh, I kind of want to get faster at cubing, but then they'll be like, oh, but it's just a fidget toy. I don't really want to get faster at cubing. And I'll be like, wait a second. Do you want it to be a fidget toy? If so, that's great. Buy a really nice 3x3, have it sit on your desk and fidget with it. Or do you want to get better? Getting better does end up taking a little bit of hard work. It can also be really relaxing, but there are always humps of learn a new thing and spend a bunch of hours practicing it if you want to get faster. So just as an adult, decide, do I want this to be purely relaxing? Or do I want this to be somewhat relaxing, but with components of hard work so that I can taste the joy of getting faster? You know yourself, not me. Just pick the one that you believe would be more rewarding or satisfying to you, and then do that. It's your life, your hobby. Everyone gets joy out of it for different reasons. But yeah, that's kind of the general advice I would give to adults on cubing and improvement. These are the things that I tell myself for reference as somebody who's trying to get really, really fast. I really want to win at cubing. I really want to have an epic story that 5 years from now I can turn around and tell friends or my kids or an investor in a future business that, hey, I did this really cool thing. I'm somebody who's willing to spend time and money and hardship to get faster. I recognize that I'm slow at learning algorithms. I recognize that my subconscious brain is not nearly as fast as many younger kids. I recognize that I get very easily distracted from long methodical sessions. But on the upside, I'm really good at learning complex new concepts quickly, at breaking complicated stuff down into simple bite-sized pieces, and at hyper-focusing for limited periods of time. So I accept all those trade-offs, look at my circumstances, and now I have practice plans for how I'm going to get better. And I make videos about it on my channel every single week so that you can follow along with me and my journey. If you're interested, give me a subscribe, go watch those videos, and I hope this was helpful for you.